Boozed and Bothered on occasion may contain content that readers and listeners find offensive or distasteful. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast or on the articles on the website are solely those of the individual authors, speakers, and or guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views of Boozed and Bothered as a whole or the views of any of Boozed and Bothered's affiliate or parent companies and organizations. Enjoy the show.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to be. And you're about to be a father.
I know. It is
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah. We just roll.
Is this...
We'll just edit that out.
No, it's fine. There's no editing. Fuck
your
that
sickness.
Shit. No, whatever.
Over here. The first thing they hear, you're about to be a daddy. Cough, die. So disrespectful.
Yeah.
I'm just jealous, Rob. Just jealous.
As all of my friends should be.
Wanted a wife and baby by now, you know.
Go a different route.
Single and broke in this apartment.
You'll get there. I mean, how old are you? 20,
I'm not
29?
Jesus,
I'm 30.
guys.
30?
I thought
I'm 30.
I poured wine for us tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't-
thanks for the fucking face after that. Oh, you're fine. How old are you? 30.
It's all over after 30, man. No, 30's the new 20.
You know, maybe we should just stick to beer from now on because wine was on tonight's menu, and all of a sudden you guys are over here crying.
You're fucking
Not me,
saucy.
man.
Rob ain't crying.
No, Rob's not crying.
Rob will be crying shortly when the baby comes out.
Absolutely. Tears of joy.
He's gonna be.
We'll
Good
see
man,
if I cry.
Rob.
Yeah, we'll see if I cry harder at that or at my wedding.
It's gonna be a haggard.
I don't know if
mess.
Matt told you because I cried like a baby.
No, Matt is a man's man. Okay, if you cried at
No.
your wedding, Matt would
Keep
be
it to
like,
himself.
that dude was so tough.
Yeah. Respect.
Yeah.
Some vibe.
Like there was like a chest double tap. He'd be like, Rob was smooth through the whole thing.
Bop.
Butter.
Yeah.
Butter.
No, couldn't breathe. I don't think I've ever cried that hard in my life. It was awesome. It was a favorite moment of my life.
That
She
is the
looked
sweetest
so
thing. And I
pretty.
love that you're saying this on a recording. This is
Oh,
even
yeah.
better.
I was suffocating and it was amazing.
Yeah. It was the best. Almost passed out. I couldn't get through my vows.
You couldn't get.
I got about two-thirds of the way through, and then I had that hitch when you're trying not to cry, and you're like, and I was like, I can't do it. Just seized up.
Did they skip the vows?
No, I got through it.
No,
I
okay.
powered
Yeah.
through after that.
Yeah.
That's good job.
Yeah.
Good job,
Yeah.
man.
But I knew it. I had to tell
That
my
is your wedding day.
Yeah, I did tell my wife beforehand, maybe like a month before, maybe less. I turned to her in the car and I was like, hey, I know I've said like, oh, I'm gonna probably cry at the wedding. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I feel like you aren't taking that seriously.
Right.
And she was like, well, yeah. I was like, no, I'm really gonna cry. And she was like, oh, I thought you were kidding. But no, I did, and she believed me after that. But there we go.
Right. I mean, that's awesome.
And she was supportive.
Yeah.
Did she like step on your toe or something when you started to cry too much?
No, she started crying too.
Oh, that's
She's
support.
a big feeler. So
Oh,
very
you guys
empathetic.
You guys are so
Correct.
cute.
Very
though.
yeah,
empathetic.
she's like, if you're crying, she's crying.
So
she's
perfect.
in it with you.
So perfect.
Yeah. Oh, my
I have a
gosh.
real problem with that. If you're crying, I'm leaving.
Johnny doesn't feelings.
I
He
have.
doesn't.
I love feelings. It's just that sometimes when people are crying and I can't do anything about it, I feel extra hopeless. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, so sad.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, look at this time that we have going on here. I've got to go.
Right.
But I love you. Also, goodbye.
You're like, okay, bye. Stay hydrated.
Yeah, drink water. Pours wine.
Yeah.
Drink
Oh,
this.
man.
Take a Tylenol.
Don't call me in the morning if you're still doing this.
Please, God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, we saw Lady Bird.
We did see Lady Bird.
What'd you think of that? That
Well-
was the second time for me. So
Yeah, because you saw it in Seattle.
Yeah.
With the Seattleites.
with a packed theater, when it first hit the scene.
Remember,
on-
don't do spoilers. He hasn't
Right,
seen
right,
it
right.
yet.
No, no, no. I'm
We've
not
got
gonna
all
say it. I'm not gonna
categories.
say it. I'm not
I've
gonna
seen it
say
no times. Johnny's seen it 1 times, and you've seen it 2 times.
multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah, just no spoilers.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything. I will say that
There's a lady in it. There's a bird in it.
I think there might be birds in it, but that's not really what.
It's
what's
not the
going on
focus
here.
of the movie.
Yeah,
I feel betrayed.
She's Lady Bird.
She's Lady Bird. She's Lady Bird.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a spoiler. If you watch the previews, you'll know.
Right.
Yeah, no, I saw it in Seattle, to my surprise, in a packed theater, and it's when it first hit the scene, I think the Sacramento Press reported on it, and I'm sitting here going, it's just another hometown pride thing, whatever. It'll probably just come and go. I mean, that's really cool, but whatever. And then it blew up, which really like
Yeah, it's doing very well at the box office right now.
yeah, that really threw me. So then finally, so I watched it in Seattle, and there were a lot of inside jokes about the city.
There are a lot of inside jokes, but it was great, which is why it was really great to see it here in Sacramento at Tower.
Yeah,
Because we had a packed house too.
we did.
We did. It was a full house, and everybody laughed all the time. It was great, and they cried too. I cried with them. I was a crier.
There were some serious onion ninjas in that theater.
Yeah,
It
it was beautiful.
So was it? Would you say it was more drama, more comedy, just a sort of
was
coming of
both.
age movie?
It was definitely a coming of age movie for sure.
but written so differently than most like teen coming of age. There was plenty of angst, obviously, but it wasn't directed at like the institutions that make adolescents so like horrifying when people put them on screen. It wasn't like, wow, everything sucks in the world and it's awful. It was much more discovering a sense of self, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't like a young adult novel.
It wasn't that dramatic. It had plenty of drama, but it was beautiful. It was beautifully done. Greta Gerwig did a great job. She filmed it in Sacramento, which was great. It was a really good movie, and I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, Oscar worthy.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean that's
Quick
not up
responses,
up
yeah.
to me, but I definitely hope so.
Yeah, like you wouldn't be surprised at all if it got
No,
the nod.
no.
Right.
Well, hey guys, I'm Jonathan. Welcome back to episode 3.
Boozed and bothered.
Yeah, that's our event.
Yeah. And I am Sean, your producer. Jonathan is your co-host. And today we have a friend of the show with us.
He is a friend of the show.
He is a friend of the show.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name's Robert.
Robert will be joining us hopefully more often, actually.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
if you go to boozedandbothered.com, he's also one of our staff writers now.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for the goodies from Robert. You studied at Sac State?
No, Cosumnes River College.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sac
okay.
State's little sister.
Oh, little sister.
Um,
What does that make Sac City?
the other
The
little
other
sister.
other
sister.
little
It's the
sister.
triplets. It's American River College, Sac City, and Cosumnes River College.
Isn't Folsom Lake College part of that?
What
It's
about
Los Rios.
They're like a.
Isn't Sierra College also in
No,
Los
they're their
Angeles?
own thing.
Okay.
They can't
okay.
sit with us.
Yeah. They're like the younger sibling. Like there were triplets, and then a year later there was another sibling.
Yeah.
And that was.
Nobody fucking cares about them.
Yeah. No,
Right.
It's 2-year degree, but in film and media.
Film and
studies.
media
Yeah.
studies.
It enabled me to work for the wonderful company Blockbuster. Yeah, so I got to
Wow.
work there in Elk Grove, and then I got.
Well,
to get
you're
in-
working and they're not, so guess who won?
Exactly. I survived, bitches.
Threw it right on back, man.
Yeah, and I was there during the end times.
Oh, really?
During the fall of Rome. Oh yeah, when they were literally selling off the shelves where you could come in and buy shelving for yourself. And I kind of wish I had bought one like bay of shelves so I could have set it up in my house. Because to be honest, having worked there for 4 years, there's something cathartic about fixing the movies, putting them back and straightening them up.
facing them,
Yeah,
and-
facing them. Exactly. Facing the product.
Sure.
And going, oh, you don't belong there, and putting stuff back. It was it was calming compared to being up at the register and checking movies in and everything.
I found nothing cathartic about facing or retail in general.
Retail's different, yeah.
I just wanted to hang myself most days.
But no, I was there in San Diego. That was the first place where they said, "Yeah, we're not gonna have you on the schedule anymore."
Okay.
So
Okay. Well,
Because
shiesty.
there won't be a schedule.
exactly,
Nice.
we're not gonna have anyone on the schedule.
Well,
But it was,
I mean, at least you were in good company.
yeah, it was fun to get the like monthly newsletters from the CEO who wasn't the CEO 2 months ago, saying like everything's fine. It's okay that DirecTV just bought us. Like, keep working.
don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't
Bye, Felicia.
don't watch the news.
How did you feel? Did you believe those? Did you believe those emails or not?
When I first started and I would watch those,
You
the
guys
little
read those
newsletters-
emails?
No, it was like a video where you would do like
Oh.
almost like press conferences.
Oh, psh. Yeah, that's a grand gesture. I would have been like, "You ain't got to lie, Craig."
But this was early days. This was a couple years before they went under, when they had an online program and Netflix had really just started, and you didn't really know. Like,
Way back in the day.
Yep, when Netflix was only direct mail, and you didn't really know. You had no way of knowing, like, oh yeah, this is happening.
I still have 3 movies from my Netflix direct mail that I have not given back in about 9 years.
I have movies from...
And they're like, do you still have these? And every time I get that, I'm just like, yeah, totally. And they're like, okay, just wondering if you want to buy them and move on with your rental queue. And I was like, sure don't. I'm real happy with these. I watch them all the time.
Do you have a rental queue?
I do have a rental queue.
Oh my gosh.
Who does that anymore?
Yeah.
I just never update my stuff.
Oh, I know.
I was like, listen, this works. Okay, I promise I'll get these sometime.
It's like the next movie on your rental queue's
Now I
Hurt
have-
Locker. One of these days I'm going to get to it.
Wait. Now I have to know, what movies are they?
Oh, I know because I just saw them the other day. They were just sitting there, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I still have those," which is exactly what I say every time I look at them for the
Step It
past
Up- is it
almost decade.
Step It Up 2.
No, these
It's
are
Bring It On.
These are quality movies. First of all, these are
Okay.
quality movies.
Okay.
I have Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh, of course.
Is,
of course he
is
does.
one of them.
Classic.
Yeah.
He has to.
That's on there.
That's necessary.
I have The Duchess, and then I have Elizabeth, The Golden Age.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so those are the 3.
Is that the one with Kate Blanchett?
I love Kate Blanchett.
Oh, she's the best.
She's a goddess on this earth.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
My favorite role she played was Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah, she was really. What was that movie? It
The
wasn't called.
Aviator.
Yeah.
Howard Hughes, Leo
Oh
DiCaprio.
my god, that movie is so good.
So good.
I loved her in Hannah when she was the bad guy, when she was the CIA director
Yeah.
woman. Have you seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
You haven't seen that movie either.
Negative Ghost Rider.
This is one of the best. First of all, Eric Bana is in this, which shocked me and everyone that saw it, because at the time we were like, "Wow, we haven't seen Eric Bana since Troy,"
Right.
Right.
and it was great. Hannah's like a little badass secret agent or whatever. I don't know, but Kate Blanchett was amazing, super evil.
Yeah.
Right. Oh man, what are you guys drinking? What am I drinking? You know, you just poured me a glass of wine, and I don't even know what
You're
it
welcome.
is. No, thank you. Obviously, always.
Well, you and I both have an old Vine Zinfandel from Old Soul in Lodi,
Ooh,
and
We
that's
gotta
why
go out
That's
to-
why it's really sweet.
we gotta go out to Lodi one of these days. And
I always-
do some
I
wine
always forget
tastings.
that Old Soul does sweeter wines.
I always forget that Lodi is wine country.
They're,
Also,
yeah, and there's Zinfandel country. That's their big
Yeah, and
thing.
they're
Yeah.
right next door too.
Yeah.
I know, and like I never go out there. It's just
Oh, I was there last weekend.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because it's always like Napa or Sonoma, and I mean they're great.
Yeah.
But Lodi's right in our backyard.
Same thing with Clarksburg.
Yeah,
And you can go to
Bogle.
You can go now. You can go to Old Sugar Mill.
Oh,
You got.
I still haven't been there.
12 different wineries.
I don't think
still
I've been
haven't
to
been
Old
there.
Sugar Mill
Oh,
either.
it's so
We
worth
should hit
it.
that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should hit that up for sure. What are you drinking?
I am drinking something from Napa. Funny enough, it is called Tess, and it's a red and white blend.
A red and
It's
white.
kind of like a sweet wine, more like a lounging
Yeah.
summertime wine.
Okay.
But I thought something cold, you chill it, so
Okay.
it's easy sipping and drinking wine.
Sure. Well, cheers, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Cheers. Clinky, clink, clink, clink. all the things.
The dead silence while we drink.
I mean,
It's
they
what we
heard,
do.
They
No
heard
one
our
cares.
sipping and slurping.
They're all about
It's
that.
fine.
Everybody
Yeah,
here loves
don't worry
wine.
about it. You know, I do kind of giggle and imagine that people are driving to work in the morning while they're
While
listening
drinking.
to us drinking. While they're listening to us drinking,
Yeah.
and probably going, "Damn, I wish I could have some booze right now myself."
Yeah.
Listen,
But
it's
they're
called a
just
fl-
bothered.
It's called a flask, Heather.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh man!
Just sit in your parking lot.
Yeah.
Any new? Any new? Al Franken had 2 more.
Really? What's that, 5 now?
But he's back in the Senate. Franken's like, I'm really sorry and I'm super embarrassed, but I'm back to work, guys. Look how brave I am. People are like, oh my God, he's so brave. And then there are other people who are like, this seems a little weird. Because it is.
How is he brave?
For going back to work, despite accusations that have pictures. I mean, that's kind of brave, right?
I mean, if they're letting him go back to work, you might as well try and move past it.
I'm gonna be not as spicy as I was last week about this.
Listen, and you can't really. I don't even know. I don't know what you can say about this situation because, I mean, I guess Al Franken can do whatever he wants. The state of Minnesota, the people that live there can't recall him. Nobody can recall their senator. Technically, they can be obviously voted out of the Senate by the Senate. They can be expelled, but
Sure.
they're.
What kind of majority do you need for that?
I think, honestly, for that, I don't know what the it's in the hands of the ethics committee,
Right.
But by general vote, the Senate can't expel its members. I would assume that that's
Right.
not a simple majority because the Senate rarely requires a simple majority to do anything.
Let me posit a point here about that. Al Franken's back at work after numerous accusations of sexual misconduct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who, on the other hand, is not back to work? Kevin Spacey, shut down and removed from his House Card show.
Correct.
Louis C.K.
Correct.
shut down and removed from his show.
Correct.
So two of arguably the biggest actor, comedian people in the industry. A lot of people respect and lauded Louis C.K. for his writing style,
Absolutely.
his comedic style. He was, top of the heap.
Yeah.
And after, let's say, an equal amount of numerous accusations, he was completely removed. So I would argue that easily...
Oh, more wine?
Please.
Yeah, definitely. I can pass that.
Here, you can
have
pour
a
it.
bottle.
I would argue, well, at least
So
it's
good.
interesting to me that somebody that we vote into office is not removed from his position, but somebody that we didn't vote into office with a ballot is removed immediately.
Well, I mean, another representative, and I can't find her name right now. I want to say it was Kathleen Rice from New York, but I don't want to put that as like a fact. It's been stated that, and accurately, that the House of Representatives and the Senate and Congress in general, they don't have an HR department that they can report to the way that corporate America does.
Right.
So there's no real way that. I mean, apparently these things just go to that House office, that congressional office.
Yeah, like an ethics committee.
Well, no, not just the ethics committee, but. Oh, he's taking pictures. I was like, "What are you doing, weirdo over there?" Just like everyone's great aunt taking pictures at Disneyland.
It's for Bookface. It's for Bookface.
Oh, that one place that we do this at. Anyway, it's been stated several times that there's no HR department for Congress. People can't go and make complaints and have them seen by, kind of a nonpartisan, out of the way person that can actually have any effect on decision making. Their peers are the ones that review these things.
Right.
So all of this goes before fellow congressmen and women, and I mean you're basically relying on your coworkers to absolve you or punish you.
Yeah. So my question is, do entertainment companies then, do they care more about the American populace than the Senate does if they're willing to take immediate and drastic action that the Senate or the House is not willing to take?
Well, we talked about this last night, Robert. I think you know my views on this. The dollar is much more powerful in terms of how you spend it than your vote is.
Right.
And obviously, if they're afraid of losing money, Congress sure isn't afraid of losing money. They just vote to force you to pay money.
Right.
It's called taxes, and apparently it's a thing. But you don't have to go to the movies. You don't have to watch television shows. You don't have to watch
Right.
plays. You don't have to support anybody's career that you just
Don't like.
But with Congress, these people are paid whether you voted them into office or not.
Right.
And they're the ones who take your money essentially without your consent.
But okay, let's say it happened the opposite way. Let's say Kevin Spacey didn't get fired from House of Cards and Netflix kept him on. Louis C.K. didn't get fired.
Oh, then the network, the whole system goes into crazy town
You
mode
think
then.
so? Al Franken can. What if he gets voted in again? He can't.
I don't
is it-
think
is
he's
the
made.
idea
I don't
that-
think he's made a decision on whether or not he's running. I know
But
that
if
he's made a decision to come back to work.
Right. But if these.
But the same
people
thing
are
goes
on
for
the
John
Hill-
Conyers, okay? I mean, the same thing goes for John Conyers, and I know it sounds like we're beating up on Democrats, but these are the Democrats that actually hold the seats. We're not really talking about an actual senator when we're talking about Roy Moore because he's not in the Senate, and Mitch McConnell has declared that this man could very well be expelled upon arrival. Senate and House Republican leadership are much more outspoken on their opposition to Roy Moore winning this election than President Trump is. President Trump has kind of walked the line, but it's walking the line but leaning to one side where he's like, wow, these are accusations. They're not.
It's not proof.
There's not proof here, whatever, and we would rather have a Republican than a Democrat, which, I mean, I disagree with. I think I would take the Democrat, and I kind of understand that Trump's playing party favorites here, which is, not to be expected. Everybody loves their partisan stuff, but, I mean, Trump talks about how Roy Moore's opponent is weak on crime or whatever, but this guy was an attorney, and he put people like Roy Moore in the can for the crap that Roy Moore is accused of doing.
Right.
And Roy Moore was a district attorney fondling 14-year-olds. So I don't...
In front of the courthouse.
Well, that was one time, and he didn't do it in front of the courthouse. He just picked the girl. He just hit on the girl there and picked her up and took her home.
Groomed her, as it were.
In front of her mother. Yeah, it's real gross. It's real disgusting on his part.
Right.
John Conyers has allegations, and he's the representative from Michigan that has a history of making settlements with accusers of harassment. A few more have come forward, and not many, but several of his colleagues have asked for him to resign. This man has been in office for 27 terms. 27 terms.
Right.
Yeah.
One, term limits, and two,
right. I mean, that's the biggest point. Is always term
you're
limits.
costing people money with your handsiness. You need to leave.
Right, and that's taxpayer money.
Yeah, and you're settling it with taxpayer money. Where's the repercussions?
Yeah.
What is this, a slap on the wrist? Or are we just going to write a check to somebody with somebody else's bank account?
Right.
And that's just what we do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's reasonable. I think that the money that was paid out for his settlement he should pay Congress back for that, and he should go away.
Right. I mean, it's one thing when your church donations are used for hush money in the Catholic Church. It's another thing when you're being forced into it by taxes.
Yeah.
But more to come on that, I'm sure.
I don't like paying for his petting. I think that's gross.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
I at least like having the option.
I'll agree with that. Yeah. Hey, options. We always talk about that with taxes.
I love freedom.
We always talk about that with taxes. If people could choose where their taxes would go, at least, things would be a little different.
Absolutely.
I think so. All right. Well, so moving on today, we've got a couple main just topics here, and I want to start with our smaller focal point because our big one is a doozy, which we will be definitely diving into for a while. I mean, let's be honest, we'll probably once again go over an hour today, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But, Rob, you brought this up while we were talking about this last night, and this is a really interesting topic, and I kind of want to go a lot deeper on this. But free speech on campus is what we're kind of going into here. This has been, probably ever since the 2016 election, this has been a very controversial topic.
Absolutely.
Especially with Berkeley, which is the birth of the free speech movement. And then suddenly, you have people like Milo Yiannopoulos, Ben Shapiro coming through there, and a lot of violence toward speech and people basically saying that you're not allowed to have speech, free speech per se, if you're
if it's deemed violent
or hateful,
right?
Or I think when Ben Shapiro was at Berkeley, one of the protest chants was, "It isn't a debate if you're only spreading hate."
Despite the fact that people paid to go and hear him speak,
Right.
and people who were protesting didn't buy tickets and weren't invited,
right?
So,
And I think a fair question is, was he spreading hate? Was he promoting a message of intolerance?
well, No, I heard the speech, and it wasn't a message of intolerance. It was a conservative message. It was a message that I think a lot of hard right people would find appealing.
Right.
There were things that I don't like about the conservative message or conservative messaging or whatever, and that I disagree with when it comes into like social practices or whatever. But for the most part, Ben had nothing actually controversial to say. In fact, the speech was no different than any other speech that he had given. It's just that he gave it at Berkeley this year as opposed to last year when he gave almost the same speech and had no opposition. Like, no one cared. At least not to the extent where there were rioters. I mean, Lauren Southern was out there doing like a live feed, and she was dressed in all black to blend in with the crowd and be one of these Antifa assholes. And just walking freely among them because they don't know who she is. And she was she was laughing the whole time. It was ridiculous. First of all, these people were protesting by drawing in chalk on the sidewalk outside of the speaking center, which I thought was super mature. I mean,
Yeah. Well, if you have the protesting power of a 6-year-old, it says a lot about your message.
well, yeah. But Berkeley spent First of all, people talk about how expensive college is these days, but Berkeley spent $600,000 to secure Shapiro's appearance. And they shut down I don't think Milo gave a speech at Berkeley, right? But he didn't give the one that he originally had intended to give.
I believe that's correct.
Something happened with that or whatever. I don't know. I think Milo is a bomb thrower, but I don't know that he necessarily says anything important. I just think he's funny. I don't think he necessarily says anything interesting though.
No, he's trolly. For sure.
Which I like. I think that's hilarious. I think that people need to accept that part of society. I think it's great.
Do you think that's an aspect of sort of the internet bleeding over into reality? That people on the internet and people who get famous on the internet are a certain inflammatory sort of way.
Do you think that people's behavior on the internet is any different than what they're like in real life?
I think some people, and then it seems like Milo comes out and is spewing the same, not necessarily vitriol, but the same sort of inflammatory speech, and people seem to have such an issue with it being said in reality. Like if you said it on a message board, oh, that's just a troll, but because you're saying it right in front of my face, it's like all of a sudden it's so much more real for them. And that was the part that was so upsetting.
Sure.
Well, I don't know. Has anybody? We've all heard Milo's like YouTube videos of his speeches, right?
Yeah.
I don't find them very inflammatory. And I find them only mildly funny. They're not really that shocking. And for all of the screaming that kind of goes around them, I mean, he does the one-liners and I don't know, like it's not as ridiculous as people make it out to be. It's also not as informative as he would like it to be. I don't think. I think he believes that he's delivering like truth bombs left and right, and other people are like, he's literally the Luftwaffe coming in, and it's just like, it's somewhere in between, and it's definitely not as serious as people make it out to be.
Yeah. To further build on that point, there's an article that we shared on Reason.com. Speaking about a graduate instructor who showed a gendered pronoun debate to a class and was then basically, they said, it's not that you can't show the debate. It was a televised debate on gendered pronouns. And they said, we'll let you show it, but you have to condemn one side. And the comparison that they drew was it would be it would be like showing a speech from Hitler or Milo. And to me, that's a
wide spectrum.
That is quite the grouping.
That is a wide spectrum.
So, first of all, Hitler never was able to achieve the blonde blue-eyed look for himself the way that Milo has, and Milo only does that with peroxide and hours in the salon. So
yeah.
That is quite the comparison there.
Yeah, and one of the
Hitler,
yeah,
or
one
Milo.
One of the school administrators that said this, that responded to all of this sort of clout around it, all of the attention that it garnered after that, was just, he actually went on record and said not to do the thing where everything is compared to Hitler, but this is like neutrally playing a speech by Hitler. I mean, You can't say, hey, not to do that thing, and then do that thing.
Not to cuss, but you know,
fuck that.
shit.
It's like, with all due respect.
You bitch.
Here's
Yeah.
no respect. Sean, do you want to take the rest of this?
Yeah.
I feel like it would fill your glass.
So it just reminds me of the great children's book, Everyone I Don't Like is Hitler. And it strikes me as really odd when a school is censoring a teacher and accusing her of being Hitler. And I mean, not to do the whole compare people to Hitler thing, but didn't the Nazis do a lot of censoring? So, I mean, if they want to play the who's Hitler game.
Well, a lot of... I'm sure you can make the comparison to a lot of Reginas.
Reginas.
A lot of Reginas.
The Hitler Regina.
Get in, bitch. We're oppressing people. A lot of regimes, especially over the course of the 20th century, that... Are you okay over there? First of all, everybody loves Mean Girls, and everybody loves Mean Girls
Oh, yeah.
references.
It's my fit.
No, but almost all the regimes in the 20th century worked very hard to restrict access to information, to restrict freedom in multiple sense, not just speech, but since we're talking about speech, cracking down on newspapers, cracking down on public displays, cracking down on freedom of association between individuals and groups. It's a staple for political oppression, and I think that by doing it in the name of, you know, political correctness or inclusiveness really undermines it, because you have to allow for one argument to be able to come out on top. And if the so-called PC group, the one that, you know, wants everybody referred to their preferred pronoun, if that's the case, who cares about pronouns? If you want to be called by a pronoun, let me know, and you got it. You know, that's called respect.
Politely, please.
Yeah, politely, don't.
Right.
But that's the thing. If you want to be identified in a certain fashion, please just say so, and you got it. And if
Nobody's mad about it.
Yeah, and if I mess up, I'm sorry. One, I'm going to apologize first.
Correct.
You don't need to force me to apologize. If you want me to address you a certain way, I'm going to. That's just being respectful. But you have to allow that argument to play out, and to win the argument, you have to let that side actually have breathable space to say, this is why we believe this is better, why this is a better building block for society, rather than saying this is the better building block, get with the program. That's where you get pushback.
So to personalize it for me a little bit, when I hear the debate of, well, I'm just going to call him he or she, it's my choice. I'm not going to call him what I want.
Which is also disrespectful.
Correct.
Agreed.
So my name is Robert, and one of the nicknames for Robert is Bob or Bobby. Ever since I was a child, I never liked being called Bob or Bobby. I just didn't like it. And people say, well, why don't you like it? Or,
you shorten it to Rob.
Some people call me Rob, but most people just call me Robert. Very few people call me anything else.
You just don't like Bobby or Bob.
Don't like Bobby or Bob. I never have. And people have said
You'll
grow into it, you'll get used to it, yada yada. Nope, never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up in high school, in college, even now in the workplace as a 30-year-old career man, I've had people who will call me Bob, and I'll ask them respectfully. I'll say, hey, I prefer not to be called that. And they'll say, oh, no, whatever, man, it's fine. And then I have to tell them very sternly, please do not call me that. It's not my name. I don't like it. And it's very much a soapbox for me. And I've had it where people they'll continuously call me that. And I've had to tell people straight to their face, look them in the eye and say, look at me and know that I am serious. I will go to human resources if you continue to call me this.
Which I think is fair.
Right. And the thing is, they do this bully's defense. Whoa, hey, man, take it easy. Why are you making it such a big deal? No, I'm not making it a big deal. I asked you to do something politely. You've refused continuously.
You know, one thing that I really do love, and this ties bridges the two subjects a little bit. I absolutely don't understand why people are so afraid of HR. For one, HR is there to bridge disagreements, and it's there to resolve issues. It doesn't always need to be like the bad guy situation. Like, it's there as like a bridge between parties, and it's there to make peace in the workplace primarily. And people use it. Unfortunately, it goes real far to the opposite end, where they're like, this is an HR issue, blah blah blah.
Right.
And
Well, it's like I'm going to go tell mom. That's what it sounds
yeah, and it's not. It's a mediation point, and it's a great tool that corporate America has to make its functionings smoother. And it's there for those situations where you're having a disagreement or you feel disrespected or something in any sort of way, and you can take it to HR. And people freak out about that all the time. And I'm like, if you need to take it to HR, take it there. It's a tool. It's literally a tool for you to make your work life better, and there's no reason to suffer.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But that's for me is tantamount, at least on a personal level. If somebody says, I would prefer that you refer to me as a male pronouns. If I choose, I can then choose to say, you know what? No, I'm gonna call you by female pronouns. And guess who's the asshole in this situation? I am.
Right.
Correct.
Because they were polite about it, and now I get to choose whether to do it or not, and I get to choose whether or not I want to be a jerk about it.
Well, and I think people have the right to self-identification. I think that one of the best things about living in a society that allows openness and freedom is that people who even disagree with that get to see a world where people are identifying in more correct ways, I think is the way you would put that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with allowing people to experiment with social norms, to bend and break social norms, to create new ones, to add avenues. And I think it is encouraging that people are creating new pathways to define what it is to be a human being. And I think that that should be supported. I also think that screaming at people about it is not on the sidewalk is not the way to get it done.
Absolutely not.
But at the same time, everybody has to be willing to have a conversation. And if you're going to shut down conversations and say that one way is the highway and that's it, you're also wrong.
Right.
And you need to piss off. I think just having that argument is worthwhile.
My point in this, one of the things I think that's positive about asking to have a different gender. Now, if it's a gender that you not necessarily have made up, but one that I don't understand, then I might be inclined to ask you, can you expound on that? To me, as a film major, the way I equate it in my mind is, let's take the movie Zombieland. Mm-hmm. That a lot of people say, oh, that's a horror movie. And I might be inclined to say, that's actually a comedy. And that helps the audience.
I thought it was an adventure.
That helps the audience to reframe their mind in what they're expecting. So if I meet somebody and to me it appears to be a female and they say, I actually prefer to be referred to as a male, that helps.
Or something else.
That helps
there
me
are
reframe
options.
my mind. Right. Or if somebody says that movie's a dramedy and I've never heard that word.
Right. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Tell me about that.
And I think,
and then you can engage in discourse.
But I also think that as people who do like discourse, I think it's also important to note that there has to be a two-way street on that. If I'm curious and you're defensive about it, you know, that might be the way you are, and that's just the way you are. But just realize if nobody's ever heard of that,
correct.
You know,
correct.
You're putting them in a position to make an assumption based off of a new experience.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that openness is the key. And sometimes you're not going to be in a good mood, and that's fine. You know, we also have to realize that if I approach somebody and I'm like, hey, can you explain this to me? And they're like, no, piss off. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or just, this is how I am. Just deal with it.
I would also in that moment have to like pull myself down and be like, maybe that's, you know, it's called a bad day. Everybody has them.
Yeah.
I think people need to be less sensitive about it.
Absolutely. I think on both sides. And probably it's very possible more on the side of the people who are being told that they're misgendering.
Right, because they get real defensive.
They do. And I've got plenty of friends who, it's that, I just don't get it, and there's just no, there's two, you know what? Fuck off. Get over yourself.
First of all, it's exciting. It's an adventure, okay? You're learning about people.
Yeah, expand your horizons. Diversify your bonds.
It doesn't mean that you have to change things up. You can be totally fine with yourself.
Like it's not a threat.
No one's
to
asking you to not be no one's asking you to be non-binary.
Right.
No one's asking you to be non-binary.
It's not a threat to your reality.
Right. It's not a threat to your reality that you don't have to live with this person.
Right.
You don't have to interact with this person if you don't want to. And they may see that as discrimination, which is
the world is free.
Their prerogative, right?
The world is free.
Free association.
We should allow it to be free.
Right. So I kind of want to circle back around to this, right? Because another article we had on this was from The Atlantic, but instead of the article itself, the headline poses a really good question, and I want to pose this to both of you. And The Atlantic asks, is free speech really challenged on campus?
So I haven't personally been on a college campus in 10 years.
Yeah.
probably
Mm.
close
Same.
to it. So I couldn't say from a firsthand perspective whether or not it's challenged. I will say during the 2016 election, during those times, you heard a lot of people that claimed to be struggling to be heard on both sides.
Yeah.
Because you had the Antifa movement who were trying to shut down any.
Which I'm sorry, is this like the People's Liberation Army? What is Antifa? I would like to know if we're back in the Patty Hearst days, because I'm not sure I understand what they're doing. I don't.
I couldn't speak to one specific thing. I almost equate it to a more bipartisan version of OWS. We know we're mad about something.
You think Antifa's bipartisan?
I don't know about all that.
Bipartisan in that they were against. It's a blue versus red sort of an idea.
Well, I mean, there were plenty of headlines about, I guess, the Reds coming out and just beating them the shit right out of Berkeley, chasing them through the streets because they got chased.
It seemed, at least as a casual viewer of this content, it seemed like the Antifa movement came out of more.
But is that
the
but
blue
is that
side.
but is that a campus? The problem that I'm having with Antifa, I guess, is because I don't really understand if it's a campus support. Most of these kids don't seem like students. One, and,
Correct. Yeah.
and two, they seem to have support from faculty in Berkeley, but it did not appear, at least by media standards, to have a widespread backing by university. I don't know, establishment figures like tenured professors. These people were not backing them. In Berkeley, they were, but like I asked in episode 1, is Berkeley even America? Okay, these people were like pro Antifa, but it was literally only UC Berkeley.
Right.
I don't know, and I don't even know what Antifa is, except for a bunch of crazy people running through the streets drinking Coke Zero. I really don't know.
Unfortunately, a group like that, you kind of are whatever you're perceived as. So that's kind of what they are.
I guess that's their fault then.
Yeah.
Messaging.
Right. Like you can say I can ask you, what was OWS? Occupy Wall Street.
Oh, I was like, I don't know. What was it? These are great questions.
Yeah.
Occupy Wall Street. Wasn't that just a bunch of people sleeping in Central Park
Right.
Pretty much.
and not showering for like a
wearing
week?
Guy Fawkes masks, trying to get big banks out of government.
Guy Fawkes. Do they realize that Guy Fawkes was Catholic?
He was a theocrat.
Yeah. Oopsie. But these are the same people who like Che, so you know, I don't really know.
They liked him because he took off after he was done with his revolution.
Wasn't he just hiding in jungles for a while?
Yeah.
Shooting gays and blacks?
Yeah, that's what the cool kids do after revolutions. They do whatever the fuck they want because they don't have to run the country.
God, maybe that's why Russia was so scary for so many years.
Well, why don't we move on to the...
Yeah, so I want to move on to, this is kind of our book topic today. A lot has been happening this week around net neutrality. And earlier, I don't even think this week, last week, was it last week? Yeah. So last week, ooh, the wine. Last week,
Don't ever blame the wine.
Oh, I'm blaming the wine.
How
It's
dare
not a
you.
bad thing, though.
Why, what's happening to you? Are you sick? Are you sicky poo?
Just feeling good. Just feeling good.
Oh,
That's all.
that's good.
That's all. That's all.
A little bit more boozed, a little bit less bothered.
Yeah, less bothered this week. I was very bothered last week.
He was very bothered last
I'm more
week.
boozed this week. So, last week, FCC Chairman Ajit Pai announced plans to repeal the Obama administration's, this is verbatim from Investors Business Daily in the editorial section, heavy-handed net neutrality regulations. Critics acted as if the world were coming to an end. Actual consumers, however, aren't likely to notice any difference because the, quote, problem those rules were supposed to solve have always been wildly exaggerated, end quote. And that's from Investors Business Daily. The headline on that is Net Neutrality Advocates are modern-day snake oil salesmen. That article is brought to us by... Oh, my God. Who's it brought to us by?
Was that the...
Where's the credit?
Libertarian?
No, this is Investors Business Daily. Who wrote this?
I'm right there. Give me just a moment.
I'd like to give credit to this author, whoever they are.
Well, I'll touch on first. I like the use of the word snake oil.
Yeah.
And
I was
right
just
there,
gonna say,
right there,
I
I've
really-
got a problem with it.
I love that old things are new again. I really do love the fact that it's like a 5,000-year-old saying, and it's It's right here with us. I mean, listen, people blow this out of the water like majorly. I'm not bigly, I guess you could say. People really are like afraid that the sky is going to fall and it's going to be raining data chips.
Right. Everybody's pockets are going to be filled with bitcoins. If only.
Please.
My issue, so just to finish off, my issue with the phrase snake oil is the assumption that net neutrality does nothing, because that was the idea. Snake oil wasn't good for you. It just didn't do anything. It didn't do what it promised to do, and it wasn't worth anything. Net neutrality is worth something to someone, because a lot of people are fighting to keep it, and a lot of people supposedly are fighting to get rid of it.
Okay, well let me ask you this. What violations of net neutrality have occurred since it was put into place?
I believe I can't remember whether it was before or after it got put into place, but it was stopping up BitTorrent sites, and it kept sending them reset packets so that it couldn't use it.
So if it was before, then no one's breaking rules.
Right.
Okay, so because Free Press put out a piece earlier this year in April, and this one's by Timothy Carr, and I mean, he gives a little list. It is a little list. Okay, this is not a heavy-handed list, but he's going with it because he's confident. And it's a list of violations from companies or whatever that violated net neutrality. The problem is they were all done before net neutrality ever occurred. And some of these instances are companies blocking behavior on their networks that they didn't want, either because it competed with a product of theirs, or because they didn't want to support like a voice over internet protocol, for example, from like Vonage. This is something that North Carolina ISP Madison River Communications didn't want done. Comcast had a similar violation in 2005, and it was blocking peer-to-peer technologies. And I'm not really sure that I have a problem with this. This is companies deciding what kind of content is used on their networks, and
I mean, isn't that another way of saying censoring the internet?
yeah, but it's not censoring the whole internet. It's censoring the internet that you get from them.
But you don't have to censor the whole message. You just have to censor the message you don't like.
Yeah, but the problem is competition. If you don't have competitors for internet service, and you only have Comcast, or not to list only one company, if you're stuck with one company or another, then yeah, that would be censorship. But we're finding the same thing in healthcare that government's gotten itself involved in. All of a sudden, there's only one provider of service in vast swaths of the country. And if you only have one internet service provider, then you've created an effective monopoly. But you're telling people it's for the sake of their safety, for the safety of the internet. They're going to secure the internet for you. What was so bad about the internet in 2014 that this had to be put in place?
Maybe it was just the idea that practice and policy had turned in such a way that they didn't want to see it continue that way.
But this is barely... First of all, this is a regulation done outside of the legislative branch. Okay, this is not a congressional action. This is something that they decided to do themselves. This is something that the FCC, which, by the way, threw a hissy fit when Janet Jackson's titty came out at the Super Bowl. These are the people regulating the internet. Okay, you want them watching the internet? These are your guardians? These are the guardians of the bandwidth? These people who are upset about Janet Jackson's boob?
Well, to be honest, they're letting a lot more titties come through since then over them wavelengths.
Well, I mean, that's fine because they've declared that all content is equal. And the problem is that not all content is equal. Okay? Not all of it is. And if people are willing to pay for the type of content that they want, what's the problem? If you want Netflix, but you don't want, I don't know, like texting or whatever, then what's the problem? You're talking about like physical... Most of the internet isn't even being delivered by physical means anymore, like the wires and the cables and everything.
Right, the series of tubes.
Right. the internet, the tube of the internet.
Yeah.
It's a linking of tubage. Who said that?
I cannot remember. I read the article.
That's an old one. That's from like that's from like 2000. Al Gore, I think.
No, it was. I think
Al Gore has said something about the internet. Well, he invented it, of course. Yeah. Al Gore is the inventor of the internet. Yeah. He's Wi-Fi Einstein. First of all, he can piss off somewhere wherever the hell he is. But no, like the internet is delivered through wireless service these days more than anything. It's growing. It's the leading method of getting online. People are using mobile devices. I think this is crap. I think people cry about everything all the time. And they're not even crying about a law. This isn't a law, people. I hope everyone knows this.
Yeah. So realistically, should the FCC be deciding who can see what, or should the internet companies be deciding it? Pick your poison. That's what it sounds like to me. Pick your poison.
Well,
which large entity do you want?
I think that's a false choice. First of all, you're saying that someone's going to pick and choose what content you can see on the internet because there are only two options, and there are not only two options. Okay, you can. The part of the thing that I think people become so afraid of is they think that if the FCC doesn't regulate it, the companies will. If the FCC steps back, first of all, have you seen the list of FCC complaints that they have? They're crazy. These people are nuts. These are the nerd cops of the galactic force. Okay, these people come in and they're like, you had a light bulb out for more than 30 minutes on a tower that was more than 30 feet high. Here's a ticket. I'm looking at the violations list, and these people are crazy. These are not people who need to be the guardians of the internet. Okay, these people need to go away somewhere else. All right, a bunch of commies.
So Johnny stands clearly against net neutrality. Rob, I gotta ask, where do you stand?
You know, it's hard to know. Being a citizen of the internet, I don't like the idea of anybody in particular being able to tell me what I can and can't look at.
But who's doing that? Who was doing that before net neutrality went into effect?
Nobody in particular.
Well,
but it's very much for me, it's a...
Why are you so afraid of it then?
Because I don't like authority. I don't like people telling me what I can't do.
So you're going to give it to a bunch of nerds who don't like Janet Jackson's boob?
To be honest, I wouldn't pay $5 to see Janet Jackson's boob at this point.
Well, you paid more than that to watch the Super Bowl that year, if you watched.
I didn't.
You missed it. You missed out.
Oh, man.
First of all, that was a great halftime show. Who was playing that year, by the way? I don't even remember the game.
Oh, who cares?
I just remember Justin going, oopsie. First of all, he did her dirty, okay? I'm just going to, we're putting this conversation on pause real quick because JT did her so dirty. She took all the blame for that. And I just want everyone to know, I don't give a damn whose idea that was. Justin was the one that opened the boobie. He opened it. I don't care if she built that in. It was his fault, and she took the fall. That's the patriarchy.
Is that...
That's it. That's the best example.
Yeah,
of
no,
patriarchy.
he was. Yeah, it's the prime one.
I've seen the video, and it looks intentional.
It does look intentional. Why was she the only one in trouble?
Right. Because she brought those boobs on stage.
It's because
that was irresponsible. She should have left those home.
She's been bringing them around for a lot longer.
Misogyny.
Yeah, she is a beautiful, talented, strong woman. Okay, and if she wants to show her boob,
she don't need no JT to throw them out there.
Yeah.
She can do it her damn self.
And if she's going to time out, then he needs to go with her. They all need to write sentences on the chalkboard, okay? This isn't just Janet. Justin was there too. I'm still mad about it.
No, I totally would agree with you on that. That's a fair point, Johnny.
He dodged responsibility. It's still as bad today as it was then.
Man.
Shame on him.
Yeah. Just making a mess and walking out.
I know.
Oh my God.
He's all happy and they both have children now and he's with Jessica Biel and it's all gravy under the bridge or whatever. But I remember. I know what kind of person you are, Justin.
Remembers.
You little snitch. You let Janet go down. Can't believe it.
So to wrap back around, I want to talk about an article that was on the Libertarian Republic. And it's about net neutrality. And the headline is "The Latest Weapon in the Left's Misguided Crusade for Forced Equality." It's about net neutrality.
Oh, that's a hot take.
And there were a couple points that they made that I just had, let's say, a bit of a gripe with. Let's see if I can find them. One of them was, think about internet quality as an ice cream sundae with enhanced features and speed being the toppings. While some people might want to pay more to put chocolate syrup, whipped cream, and a cherry on top, the server behind the counter says that people can only have regular vanilla. So in this analogy, the server would be the FCC saying you can only ever get vanilla ice cream and that you can't pay for extras.
Well, that's definitely wrong.
That is definitely wrong because I went to the Comcast website and you can pay $69.99 for 55 megabits per second.
No,
or an
there's
extra
definitely
$20.
everybody has options.
Right. Everybody's got options. So to come out there and say, oh, you can only have the one thing and you can't pay for more, and the FCC is throttling your ability to diversify and to get a better product, is just right there. It makes me want to not keep reading this. But I continued. I soldiered on, and I took 2 steps into the next paragraph before I literally had them equating net neutrality and the issues that it could come up with the death of a child in the UK. They bring up the tragedy of Charlie Gard, saying that similar effects can be seen in countries with socialized medicine. While it's true that everyone in the UK has access to healthcare, those who want to pay more for surgeries deemed elective or likely inconsequential are denied the opportunity to choose their care. That's the bridge they're gapping between if you have net
The
neutrality.
gap they're bridging?
Yeah, that too.
Okay.
I've had a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah, it's fine.
You got to forgive me for this.
No, that's okay.
I'm trying to make a point.
Okay.
here,
I'm
Sean.
sitting over here just
Well-
being drunk. It's great.
You barely had 2 glasses.
I'm also got an empty stomach.
I had
You didn't
chicken
get
nuggets
dinner?
before I came in.
No, bro.
My wife made me dinner.
Oh,
That's so cute.
Some of
I'm
us
a
don't
strong-
have wives, okay?
Well, I'm an independent human being, and I ordered myself dinner. It's called Postmates, Sean, and I know you know it.
I'm going to go to Vito's after this.
To where?
Vito's.
Uncle Vito's slice
Well,
in New
don't
York.
yell. Anyways, but let me ask you this. Is net neutrality internet communism?
In what way?
Well, it treats every type of data transferred over the internet equally. All the content, everything about it is equal. And I could be getting this wrong because I'm not a technical person. But if everything is given access and everything is given no, God, what's the word?
Preference.
Priority.
Sure.
Then is it really free? You're still restricting something. You're giving some aspects more than it needs, and you're cutting off the maximum amount that people can get for like video streaming takes up a lot of bandwidth. See, I know words. It does take up a lot of bandwidth, and if people are using the internet primarily for Netflix, for video streaming, for Hulu, for
Gaming.
YouTube, stuff like that, gaming especially takes up way more.
Absolutely.
I think gaming is the largest, right?
Oh, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be. It has to be.
There's just so much data going through, and
That
it's
and porn.
constant. and-
Probably that and porn.
Well, porn I think goes into video. I don't think we have interactive yet. I'm
Interactive
sure they're working on
VR.
it.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, everything's crossed, but that's not the point.
I'm gonna need to see a diagram of that later.
I'm sure VR does porn.
Oh, they do. It does.
Oh, and VR, but these services, not everybody's using these services for the internet. So why should they be paying for that if they don't want it? I really don't have a problem with people picking and choosing what they want. I really don't. I think that if people want to pay for more bandwidth, go for it.
Yeah.
If you don't want that, if you literally just want it for emails and that's the lowest, go for that. I don't care. But I think that people should have the right to pick and choose the maximum or the minimum that they want. And I don't see anywhere where tools and things that are on the internet that people want to use are being restricted by these mega evil corporations in a way that affects people massively. It's like this list from Free Press just goes on and on and on about things that, one, those service providers didn't want going on. They didn't want these tools being used on their network, and some of them were competitors. Things. It's like there was a AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon in 2011 and 2013 blocked Google Wallet because they had a competitive service that they were using.
Sure.
But I don't care about that. If a company wants to block something because they have a service, who cares? I think the problem here is that we don't have enough internet service providers, and that development for future companies seems to be stagnant.
Well, it's a very high barrier to entry.
But does net neutrality do anything to prevent that or support that?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it's a Band-Aid on a bigger problem.
I think the bigger problem is ISPs. I think that there's not enough competition in this market.
How do we get more?
I mean, that is definitely above me. I can't even imagine how to build a company around that. But people are inventing new ways. People have been inventing new ways to access the internet as long as we've been alive. So that I can't imagine that would stop. I can't imagine new companies take over old ones. I mean, AT&T, AOL was big when we were kids. It's not crap anymore. It's nothing now.
Right. It was a giant.
Some people still have AOL email addresses.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're all shut down now.
Did they get sold off?
As of, I think, this month, right? They're all shut down.
I don't know.
Oh, really?
I know AIM is going away this month. I don't know if that goes with AOL.
No.
Yeah, it's gone. Okay, nerds. Wow.
How am I going to chat with the girl I knew in 6th grade?
I know. Flipskater 916,
Yeah.
find me.
How am I going to tell her that I like her?
Well, I think. Ew.
Do you want a cyber?
Oh my God, no.
Well, anyways, some of us were outside at some point in our childhoods.
It's not me, man.
Nah, bro. Just my Sega Genesis and my internet.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it,
My
folks.
my argument. My argument.
that is the way it all started.
Yep. I had
I'm still daddy.
The reason I convinced my father to get the internet.
That's true. Look what it's built.
I was 12 years old, and a box of Cheerios said, "Learn more at Cheerios.com." And I showed him the box and said, "Cheerios is on the internet, and we're not, Dad. Come on, we need to get with the times." And that convinced him. Convinced him to get the internet.
Oh, wow.
I was 12 years old.
What year was this?
I was 1999.
How old were you?
12.
You were 12.
Yeah.
12.
I feel like there was always internet in the house. But we
Yeah.
had dial-up for a long time. Then we had, not dial-up, we had that broadband service that uses your phone connection.
Fucking dial up.
But it wasn't, it was like, I think it was like Softcom was the ISP.
So we only had dial-up.
For how long?
I couldn't
forget.
tell you.
I know that for the
long
longest time, my mom was like, "This is all you need," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, until she picks up the phone.
Yeah, and here's
No,
that
my
sound.
I think my mom for the most part was happy the phone was tied up. She was like, "Whatever, no one needs to call here."
Yeah. I was the one for a while tying up the phones on the internet and on the phone.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, how else are you going to be social? I didn't have a cell phone until I was 16.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
But I don't see why kids need cell phones before 16. When you have a car and you're out and your parent wants to reach you, it makes sense for the kid to have a cell phone in this day and age.
But what does that have to do with net neutrality?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Rob's just... He's
Oh,
being
you know
old.
what? This
No, he's
does
being...
bring up. No, this does bring
he's
up an
being
interesting
old
point
and
about net
curmudgeon-y.
neutrality. We spoke about this yesterday.
You are about to have a child, so you do have to practice that like rage.
Yeah.
We spoke
Get off my
we
lawn.
spoke on the idea of internet companies, if net neutrality is gone, internet companies being able to offer a service of internet that's accessible only to child-friendly websites and things that are approved. So you could pay
If you want that.
$39.99.
Sure, wouldn't that
and
be
you
nice?
could get teenage internet.
Yeah, it's for everybody under 12 and
Teenager
over
net?
70.
Right. But then here's the problem. If there are isn't that then putting all those kids into one place? You're so proud of yourself, aren't you?
Your auntie would have that. I'm still not seeing a problem with any of this.
No.
I really, as far as I can see, this only leads to market options and competition. And I don't see what the big deal. First of all, this is only 2 years old. I don't know why people are freaking out. The internet was perfectly fine before then. In fact, it was developing at a faster rate, growing at a faster rate, and it had far more infrastructure investment happening prior to net neutrality. What is the problem with getting rid of it? Why are you scared, Rob? Tell me why you're afraid. Why are you afraid of freedom?
My fear is that we lock these few telecom companies in a cage and said nobody else can have access to this internet control. And now that we're letting them out and saying, oh, the small innovators are going to take them down to size, I think these larger companies will do what they can.
Well, sure, but they
stop that.
But they also had a stranglehold on their competition while they were in the cage, because the only way you could play the game is if you were allowed to be in the cage. So government was this, I don't know, ringleader for a few years.
Well, doesn't this go back to the whole thing where the companies with the capital don't even, like, they fall into a gray area? Like Google.
Right. They don't have to play by the same rules. Nobody with money has to play by the same rules.
Google provides internet.
So, like, exactly, like, regardless of net neutrality, right?
Because Google Fiber to come to Sacramento so bad.
Not going to happen. Because they have...
Don't dash my dream, Sean.
I'm sorry, bro. Reality's a thing.
All right, I'll stop interrupting you.
Why are both your glasses empty?
Because I'm drunk.
I can't reach my wine. Sean?
Yeah.
Be a dear.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And at least pour a little for yourself. This is like sacrilege.
So what I'm saying, though...
Thank you, Rob.
Is...
Somebody here is civilized. What are you saying, Sean?
What I'm saying here is that regardless of net neutrality, Google doesn't have to play by the same rules, whether it's there or not, because they have the capital to peer directly with internet exchanges.
Well, they also have
IXPs. They don't get affected.
Right. And isn't Comcast on the same level?
I'm pretty sure Comcast has the capital to peer with IXPs also.
See, a lot of this is technically way out of my league, but I do understand when somebody is playing the game only because they have the choice to not play the game.
I think it's the difference between having a shipping company and owning the port.
Well, yeah, but they own it's like Google owning like an offshore physical port that they can like Google doesn't require the FCC to play this game. They simply play this game because that's what's required of them.
Right.
But they're on the outside of... Listen, these companies aren't on a leash. I don't know why everybody seems to think that these companies are being held down by the FCC. One, the FCC is a weak master, and it's the government. These are the same people that did not apologize to the American people for the things that Edward Snowden revealed. They were like, oh, wait, how can we stop this from happening again?
Yeah.
Rather than being like, wow, I'm so sorry that we were caught red-handed spying on all of you for no reason other than maybe like 1 out of every 100 million of you were a terrorist. But we took all your phone records, totally fine. Don't worry about it. And they had their hands in the pockets of the companies that provided your phone service. So really, there's a lot of devils here. And I don't trust the government to actually do a good job of anything. It's not that I am afraid of the government. I'm sure government at some level is worth being afraid of, but I don't think they do a good job of anything. So I don't know how they were supposed to hold these companies to accountability. 1. And 2, I don't trust the companies, but I can change companies if I want to.
This calls back to our earlier discussion about your dollar being worth more than your vote.
It is worth more than my vote. I'm a registered Republican in California. I have never won. Okay? I have never won at elections, but I can choose to go and do something different with my money.
You won once.
Yeah, but I didn't know what I was doing. We all make mistakes. But even like just my dollar in California is far more powerful than my vote is. And I feel the same way about it nationally. I don't need Comcast for internet. There are options.
So would you say the fight for net neutrality at this point is possibly just choosing the lesser of two evils?
I don't think it's choosing the lesser of two evils. I think it's a lot telling government to take a step back, and I support that in almost everything. I can't think of anything that I don't support that in. And at the same time, it's telling companies that they need to fight for our money. Listen, as much as people can sit here and say, and as you have said, you know, I'm afraid that they're going to do this, that companies are going to wrangle us down or whatever. You have no legal right to stick around. You don't have to use their service.
Right. Well, not a legal right. I have no legal
Obligation.
Yes, there you go, the obligation.
I got you.
Yeah.
You have
So
no
sweet.
obligation there. I mean, there are contracts and you'll have to pay whatever your contract stipulates to get out of it or whatever. But you can leave. You can't leave the government. You can't do it. but you can leave the company's services. They are providing a service, and if people don't like the service they're providing, they'll either have to shape up and do something different, or they're going under, a la Yahoo to Google. Okay, AOL, Time Warner. I mean, we sit here and we like fret about all of these situations with these mega companies, and we forget in the last 20 years, a lot of this has turned head over foot, and they have all gone by the wayside. We have seen a lot of turnover in technological industries, and a lot of failure, and a lot of pure collapse, and a lot of mergers that were nothing burgers. They amounted to absolutely. They were like, oh, the monopolies, and then they collapsed. AOL and Time Warner. That was supposed to be like this massive thing. Total failure. People were...
It was probably too little too late at that point.
Well, yeah, but it's like, why does Verizon care to buy Yahoo? One, they want the companies that are under the Yahoo umbrella.
Right.
That's for them. But, Sean, what was the collapse in value for Yahoo?
Oh, my God.
It was like $400 million or $400 billion or something.
It wasn't $400 billion, no.
That's a lot of billions.
It was a lot of money.
It was tens of billions. I mean, it was tens of billions for sure. And then by the time Verizon bought them, they sold for $4 or $5 billion. Oh,
because they were up to like 50 something.
They were up to 50 billion. I think Google made an offer for something around 40 to 50 billion. Later on, Microsoft made an offer for 15 to 20 billion. They continued to hold off, and then Verizon finally bought them for somewhere between 4 and 5 billion.
These companies do not stand for very long. They're not banks, okay? They're not standing for a century. We're talking about companies that just haven't been on top of it.
Do you think technological companies are like the new airlines? Like they're made to make money and then fail?
I don't. No. I think they're.
I mean, there are a lot of examples that you can point to of tech companies that have gone up, been the new scene, and then they're worth a ton, and then they either sell out at their peak or they don't, and then they're this cautionary tale.
Well, I think that tech is going through a bit of a growing phase, and it has been for the past 20 years. It's been hand over foot. Like they do kind of cycle around a lot, and it does look like that. But I think with these massive like internet service providers like Comcast or I don't know, AT&T. I mean, AT&T's internet service providing is going down. Once they bought that, what was the satellite company that they got? Dish? It wasn't Dish.
DirecTV.
They're starting to collapse their internet, or starting to slow down their internet service providing branch. They're not going to be doing that anymore, I think. But all of these people are just they collapse all the time, and then somebody comes in, they buy what the remnants, and it just. Again, I'm not afraid of these people. I'm not afraid of these companies. People are so afraid of these companies. It's like you can walk away, you can absolutely walk away. But if they're the ones that the government says are the right companies, and government backs them and backs their service and tells them what to serve and how to serve it, you don't have choice.
So, maybe as a final question, why then could you speak to the internet at large? It seems like so many social media sites and so many other things. Why are they so for net neutrality? Is it that it's a catchy name?
It's pretty.
And that the FCC chairman looks like such a villain with his giant teeth, or like what? I mean, what?
But for or against?
For net neutrality, I've seen more. I would say a 10-to-1. Other than the specific.
Well, because it secures the market, it secures their market value.
So is this really an underground ad campaign by Comcast and Verizon to keep their power?
Well, I think, Sean, you said last night that Comcast isn't for this, right? Comcast will play the game no matter what.
Yeah, commended Commissioner or FCC head Pai for his repeal.
Right.
Most of the major internet providers or tech companies are for this thing. Major. Oh, we're talking Google. We're talking
the
Comcast.
Big boys.
The big boys.
Yeah.
The big boys. Facebook, I believe, so also is pro net neutrality.
Right, but it secures their place. I mean, Facebook is not going to forget the fact that it was second fiddle to MySpace until it wasn't. And they know what it's like to lose in the marketplace. And they came in and they just absolutely swamped MySpace. and nobody remembers it now. They're like, oh wow, what's that one thing that we used to do?
I was there.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's tech companies, and it's not that they roll over left and right. That's not technically true.
It's just a lightning fast marketplace.
Yeah, it's the speed of
Things
innovation.
happen very quickly, and as we've seen, Yahoo was one of the biggest companies in the history of the world, and it collapsed in value
now, comparatively.
Well, yeah, compared to tens of billions,
right?
And you're selling for under 5.
And it just, I'm not afraid of these. I'm not afraid of these companies. I don't care,
because they either keep up or get out.
Right. I think in our lifetimes, we have seen internet service providers. If you look over just the history of you using internet, these people go up and down. They innovate at a lightning speed, and if they don't innovate fast enough, they don't survive.
These are like rapid fire cosmic events. These white stars that are coming out into the scene. They're bright.
So this
they
goes
take up the whole night sky, and then before you know it, they're gone.
So Johnny, you're saying with a world without net neutrality goes back to voting with your dollar, right?
Right.
And why? So why do you think? And Rob, this goes for you too. I want to hear what you think about this. Why do you think people are so scared or hesitant or lazy or whatever it is to vote with their dollar?
I think it's less about people being scared to vote with their dollar. I think it's that most people don't understand the concept, or they don't think about it like that. They don't understand that every time they purchase something, endorse something with their money, and go out and buy a product, that they're encouraging that market. I mean, take on a small scale your local drug dealer.
And we were talking about analytics last night a little bit in the production meeting, right?
We'll come back to the drugs.
Yeah, I got you.
No, I mean, go ahead and carry on with the drugs, but we were talking about analytics last night in the production meeting and how important they are to a business and their vision of what they're actually looking at and what their business is actually doing, right?
Yeah. Right.
And every business uses analytics. It doesn't matter if it's written on paper and
we sure
documented. Like everybody's looking at that.
Well, yeah, my day job, I'm a data analyst.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, even a drug dealer is going to be looking at this, like, how am I moving product?
Right.
And it doesn't matter what the product is. People are like, oh my God, drugs. First of all, it doesn't matter what the product is.
Right.
But people are looking at how best to move their product because they have to move it in order to sustain their business.
Correct.
Projections.
Right. And if you don't react with the market, you're not going to survive as a small business owner, like a drug dealer, or as an international or national corporation.
Yeah.
The onus of responsibility is on you to change with the times.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I honestly, it is comforting to a degree to know that even if these large companies are dragons and monsters, that plenty have come before them and lost this fight, that if they don't keep up, that the people will. But I think a lot of people they don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
It's in the same way in the movie industry. You, as an audience, you actually help to shape genres.
Yeah.
Because the movie Saw came out, and it was critically, it was okay, and it wasn't very popular. But then when it came out on DVD, it became a cult classic, the first Saw. And then you get Eli Roth coming in with Hostel and Hostel 2, and they took off, and now Saw is on its 8th movie?
Oh, God.
But the
the
movies went from zombie and slasher and supernatural to sociopathic real people.
Yeah.
And that became the new genre for 8-9 years because of that.
Well, like Fast and Furious, right?
Absolutely.
Still going.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about a 9 now?
Yeah. And you can absolutely say Fast and the Furious and then look at now Expendables, because people are used to the idea.
Are they doing more of those?
They've done what, four of them now, I think?
Christ.
But people are used to the idea of ensemble casts of
Sure.
the same actors almost
Familiarity.
over and over.
Do you think that's why?
Familiarity.
Do you think
And
that's why
they're okay
Super
with-
Troopers is coming back?
It's possible.
God, I hope
I
so.
think
That
that
was
works
so
more.
good.
No, they
honestly,
already filmed it. It's in post.
I think that works more with the idea of the stoner kids who loved it before have money, so they're gonna go see it no matter what.
I'll be there.
I'll
Yeah.
be there. I wasn't a
Because
stoner.
I'm
kid,
not a-
though.
I'm not a little smoky,
the
but
young 20s and the teens that saw it and thought it was hilarious when they were immature are going to go back now because they
First
have
of
such
all-
fond
Yeah.
memories.
I mean,
of it.
I wasn't a stoner kid. I mean,
not
I
to
wasn't a
disparage that
smoke
movie.
now,
it was
but,
a funny movie.
First of all, it was a funny movie, and I thought it was awesome.
yeah.
No, it was.
I
It
was
was
not
good.
a stoner
Yeah.
kid, though, but I liked it. I thought it was hilarious.
I had a really great experience the first time I saw that movie.
Yeah?
Sexually. So
Wow.
I really can't.
Listen.
Daddy Rob.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. She worked at Starbucks.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It was very naughty.
Dipping into your family, Johnny.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't claim anybody.
It was a long time ago. It was during my Blockbuster days.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you busted that block.
I looked great in the blue and yellow. My khaki pants.
You bucked her
my
star.
trainers.
Wow. Ooh. Wow.
This is why I'm not afraid of net neutrality, because something is just going to come up that's way better. It always does.
You're probably right.
I believe in you, Rob.
I try to see both sides, and I want to see. I guess I want to understand why so many people are for it. Why that's what I see more often than
Well,
not.
that's what I want to
you know,
understand, because I think people are under the assumption that this is a long-term piece of legislation.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is neither of those things.
like it's union laws.
Okay, but here's
Like
the
it's
thing.
child labor
I do want to
laws.
retouch on this. This is literally the FCC deciding rules.
And they're not a governing body.
Well, they're an enforcement body, but this did not come from Congress. And they manipulated the rules to reschedule the internet as a
Type 2.
as a type 2, as a public service. And I'm sitting over here, and these people, these are dumb people, okay, which is not a shocker when it comes to government.
I mean,
suits.
yeah, it's really dramatic, right?
But this is not the government. People are like, the Obama administration. First of all, it was entirely the Obama administration. There was nobody in Congress that signed for this. Nobody voted for this except for the FCC board.
right.
It was literally
Sure.
a partisan vote. It was 3 Democrats to 2 Republicans on the FCC top board. And they were like, this is what we're doing. There was no debate in Congress. This isn't a piece of legislation. This is a fabricated thing that's not real in terms of law.
Sure.
I don't know why this is even a thing.
And as far as voting with your vote or voting with your dollar, we didn't get a choice on either when it
Right.
came to the
Right.
FCC.
Correct.
Not to flip flop on the points I'm trying to
I mean,
make.
but I mean, no, you.
we
but
don't
it-
we
but
don't
it-
get to vote out the FCC
Yeah,
chairman, whether
that's
he goes
the
one
truth.
way or the
That's
other.
the truth, though. Like nobody had a choice to vote on this. Nobody got to vote on this.
But this is
This
another
wasn't even
reason
in the
why
Senate. This wasn't even in Congress.
why people sit here and they go, this is internet communism, because this is literally some backroom Soviet-style board that's over there afraid of Janet Jackson's boobies and complaining about things that happen on the internet when ISPs don't want somebody doing something on their network that they don't approve of, which, by the way, it's their network. You're
Sure.
paying to use it. And if you want to do things on their network, pay to use it. Pay
Agreed.
for those things. I have no problem with that. Who has a problem with pay to play?
A lot of people.
Well, those are dumb people.
Ooh,
You,
spicy.
no, you don't get to eat appetizers if you're not going to put the $5 down, Sean. That's the way life goes.
Listen,
okay?
I always put the $5 down. I could put $5 down right now. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's
It's
because
bottomless house or nothing for me, man.
Fucking.
listen,
Ooh,
you
I'm
don't get
sauced.
appetizers if you don't
boozed.
order them.
I am booze. I'm definitely not bothered today.
No restaurant is bringing you. First of all, there's nothing in life that happens at equal cost of access. Nothing. There's nothing. If you want to go to VIP, you don't just pay front entrance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't do that. You have to pay extra in order to get the extra. It's just
You gotta pay more, you gotta pay extra for kissing, is what you're saying.
Ooh.
that was a good movie, by the way. I love Pretty Woman.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a good one.
I was
It's an
watching it on
oldie.
Thanksgiving.
Were you really?
Yeah, with my dad.
God, I love how classic you are.
So good.
All right. I think we could go on this topic forever.
We could go on for a while. The
We
point
could
is
go
that
on forever.
is
but-
that net neutrality is internet communism, and I'm glad Trump's getting rid of it. Thank you, Daddy Trump. I don't like everything that he does, but this is good.
Yeah.
People need to piss off.
Johnny gives his thanks to the Grand Commander.
Uncle
I mean,
Trump.
not so much.
Uncle Trump, Grand Commander. What? There was a third one. What was his third nickname?
Uncle Trump, Grand
Hamburger
Commander.
man.
No.
No.
He does love hamburgers.
Yeah, China did give him another nickname. Uncle Trump, Grand Commander, and oh god,
Donald the Strong.
Donald the Strong.
Jesus Christ.
Donald the Strong.
Because his ego isn't large enough already.
Oh my god, Eastern culture just has the hugest boner for him.
And I'm for it.
I think
like
it's because
it. I think
he
this
is
great.
everything that they expect Americans to be.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, you're welcome.
We're just
I don't
living out
care.
the stereotype. It's
don't
just
care.
living out the stereotype.
I don't care. I hope internet communism goes down, and I hope that people kick rocks.
I would say my only gripe, my only issue with net neutrality, to bring it back to civilized conversation.
No.
My only issue with net neutrality, as far as the companies having more control than the government. And granted, I don't want to see a 1984 George Orwell.
George Orwell.
Okay,
That's
I was
Orwell.
like, Orson Welles. That's
No.
not right.
Orville Redenbacher.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Pepperidge Farms.
Anyways, as much as I don't want to see, Big Brother watching our internets, I also don't want. Maybe I just like too many dystopian films. I don't want to see corporations running America either. And as far you have companies in lobbyist groups and all of that. If they're
But you can lobby the government.
me as a person,
Yes.
and my dollar is
You don't-
not the
you
same
don't
as
have-
a company's dollar.
Unless Sean, your dog wants to go outside.
He does.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't have a problem with any of this. I think that people don't know what to expect because they can't remember 2014, and it wasn't that bad.
Some would argue that's because Obama was in office.
Yeah.
He was in office. First of all, people need to not think that I don't like President Obama. I loved Barack Obama. I thought he was a great person. I thought he was a great man. I didn't think he was a great person when he was killing people overseas. I think that's a little ugly.
Every single day
Every-
of his administration.
But yeah, not
I mean, we could
everybody's
drone on
perfect.
and on.
But President Obama was a good person. He's
Didn't
a
count.
great
There weren't
man,
boots on the ground.
and he was a great father. I
Yeah.
think that people have this notion that like conservatives don't like Obama, and the fact is that polls of Republicans have constantly shown that Republicans loved Barack Obama as a human being, as a father. They just didn't like his policies, but they thought that he as a person was a great man. And I would agree with that. I loved Obama. I thought he was a great face for our country.
Would you prefer a great face and a good person, or a, let's say,
No, I would
good,
totally
strong
prefer
leader?
a terrible person who is going to,
Big Daddy T.
allow the internet to be a freer place.
The Donald.
And he is
hashtag.
deregulating things left and right, and I'm totally fine with it. America is not falling apart. We're bigger, we're better, we're stronger.
Better together.
Better together.
I still don't. I'm. No, that's another subject. I can't get into that. Anyway.
The long and short of it, the world didn't end in 2016, so we're
Correct.
still here, and we'll
Correct.
be here next
Well,
week.
I mean, we've got like 32 days left, so 33 days left. We're gonna find out for sure. I want to thank everyone tonight for listening to Boozed and Bothered, or today, or whenever you're listening to this. Really,
Time is relative.
correct. Time is relative.
It's a social construct.
I want to thank of the bourgeoisie.
That's right.
I want to thank everyone for listening to Boozed and Bothered, and I want to thank Rob for coming in tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks,
happy
Uncle
to be
Rob.
here.
Rob
Happy
for
to
always
be
being a
here.
friend of the show. Look for us at boozedandbothered.com and also facebook.com/boozedandbothered, and also on Twitter at boozedandbothered. No and, just bothered. We're up there.
All of these things will be
Like
written down.
in and out.
Yeah, like in and out, exactly. So facebook.com/boozedandbothered, or at boozedandbothered, and boozedandbothered.com. Also keep an eye out for Rob's articles. He'll be eventually posting some stuff there. We've got a lot of new content coming to you guys very soon. We've got the ideas are steamrolling through our heads in the production meetings.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
we're
we have
gonna
a lot of things to talk about.
we've got some stuff to talk about next week. We've got some hot button topics again, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. Just say it.
So for those
He
for
wants
those
to
of you
whisper
who
it so
wanna- yeah.
secretly. There
For
are
those
secrets.
of you who want to hear more and want to get a little bit behind the curtain, we're going to be recording our production meetings as well.
Yeah, we
So
are going to be
Look
recording.
forward to that.
Oh, there are curtains in here too.
We'll be recording our production meetings. We'll also be, we've got people lined up. We're lining people up to do interviews to show on the show.
And we've also established a Patreon. This is important.
Yes.
Yes, we have. And so for our subscribers, there will be different tiers, and there will be more details on that in the next podcast.
Oh, so we do believe in tiers here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Tiers for content. We're a small business.
Blooded.
I'm just saying.
All right. Also, I just want to let everyone know we have submitted to Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. We have been approved for Google Play, so look for us
We're
on
on
Google
it.
Play. We're waiting to hear back from Apple and Spotify. But pretty soon, hopefully by the end of the week, you'll be able to find us there so you don't have to open up your own SoundCloud account, because I know that can be pretty inconvenient for a lot of people. I know people like ease of use and things like that.
SoundCloud's the best.
SoundCloud is money.
Yeah.
It's my shit,
There's
fam.
great music on that website.
I'm down with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank everyone listening once again for listening to Booze and Bothered. My name is Sean. I am your producer.
I'm Johnny. I'm one of the host guys.
My name is Robert, and I'm a guest for now.
He's a friend of the show, but hopefully we can be more than friends.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't stop it. He's a married person.
God, you just gotta fucking ruin it for everyone. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.